And we are live for the SUSE QE Tools workshop. Hi and welcome everybody. Today, this will be the last session for this calendar year. We will do the SUSE QE Tools roadmap presentation 2024-12. And as usual, for the first start, let's look into what is also linked here. How we worked close within the last 60 days, and that's the period we want to look at because we do this roadmap presentation and a review of resolve tasks every 2 months. Now in total, what we see here is that we managed to work on 139 tickets, so that's just meeting our average again after a bit dip during summer holidays. Now we are back to having this in the range of 2 to 2.5 tickets per calendar day in that period. As you can see in the categorization, there are multiple tickets seen as a feature request, but I think by now maybe a better overview is, for example, by project. And what we see here is that there's quite some ticket in OpenQA infrastructure. There's still a lot going on in OpenQA project, providing its fair share. And then also there is on the second page, we can see now some generic QA tickets, QM, QSL collaboration, and the bigger block in SUSE QA, which is a private project. There's no problem to share on the level of the subject, but there's no need to go into all the details in there. Actually, I will start with those, and let's just take a look if there's something noteworthy. So yeah, what we can see is that this is related to our compliance review, that we are also reviewing content on this very Redmine project, Progress OpenSUSE.org, in particular projects QA. So we actually did look into all the open issues which are currently there. We reviewed our team wiki, which we have there. We have extracted some information which are, well, not critically sensitive, but also not to interest to the community. So we found a better place within SUSE internal documentation places, so to say. We also worked on bringing further the setup in the Nuremberg 2 SUSE data center, where we are now using a local mirror, providing some content which is guaranteed to have not any sensitive information. And OpenQA is still running, controlled by a central instance, which is reachable, and then controlling workers in that location, working on only non-sensitive test assets, like a new build of SLAS or mostly maintenance tests, which don't include any kind of embargoed data. We also looked into some solutions, how to better deploy tooling and to ensure that there is no malicious actor being able to impact that in the supply chain. And on so on the side of OpenQA, we also did some research which led to the things which we are currently working on regarding making use of potential new OpenQA features to, for example, to prevent unauthenticated access to assets. There's also one ticket, make public private Redmine project more explicit. Well, you can see the effect here that now it's stating in some projects to be very explicit that this is a public project, and that's a private project. Private meaning that only the members of the project, and I'm a member of the project, can see and access data within this project, including the tickets. We also did some onboarding and completed that for new team members. So I'm happy to say that now we have by now a fully onboarded team again, with so many members that are now able to pick up tasks that really matter, and we can already see a positive effect in that happening. So much about SUSE QA. Now let's take a look into some others. Yeah, we have a public team member we have a team roster on our wiki page, and I put that to decision with the team and asked them how they want to be represented, and then there was again a full consensus on having that public team roster. So there's no problem that we are sharing information that people don't want to have shared, because it's all voluntarily being done. We've reviewed some behavior of QEMBot. Basically, we found that with some minor tweaks that had been done in the past months, everything works as expected as is of now. So those two problem reports could be resolved. And there is an important task for updating packages in OBS, which is relevant for the OpenSUSE and SLE distributions. Because in before that was running on a deprecated infrastructure provided by SUSE IT, and that is now found a new place, and also by the setup of the infrastructure is now much cleaner, more modern. It's set up in a more modern way and also properly documented by Tina Müller. And then there was the SUSE Hack Week in about 1 month ago within SUSE, and there were some nice, interesting projects happening in there, and you might have already visited the Hack Week presentation tools team workshop, which we did the last time 2 weeks ago, and there's also a recording about that. What happened in tests? It's not that much interest. Then the very first feature that I would like to highlight is this one. Restart filter jobs from test overview with comment. So let me show you on our go-to OpenK instance, which is OpenK OpenSUSE.org. And let me show you first how it looks like when I'm not logged in. I'm selecting the latest build of Tumbleweed on x86 64, and then we can see here the overview of tests. Okay, and we can filter those, but obviously we can't do something about the results of those tests. So now what we can do, after being a logged in member of the project and having the according permissions, you can see this shiny button which says restart or comment jobs in the hover text. Now, for example, if I would want to look into some common failures, say, for example, failed, and then maybe, let's say, maybe there was a change applied for one of those test failure related problems, like anything in, let me see, is there any module appearing multiple times? Yeah, let's say this old bug was fixed and there was a better way found to handle that test. I could say filter for where the module is ordered to allow and the module failed. And this shows this too. And now I can not only comment on multiple jobs, but I can write a comment and restart those jobs. For example, I can say run applied in test the PR and referencing something like this, and I could click restart and comment, and then it would add a comment but also restart the job. Next, we did improve the code coverage in our science, and that's also an interesting of tasks that I want to continue. I now see it in a realistic. I have the realist. I see it as realistic that we can actually reach 100% statement coverage within those events with exceptions noted down on every single line where we say why this shouldn't or is not feasible to be covered by testing, but have reports which we can then easily check for to say we have 100% coverage and there's nothing overlooked. And what we can see is with one example request, our remaining API.gem. So what you can see here is that we have additions to the test, sometimes also including refactoring of existing production code, and we using CodeCuff, and we have one section here which is called fully covered. So the section grows to explicitly note which files or paths are expected to have 100% coverage, so that in every pull request we ensure that this threshold is not so we ensure that this threshold is actually met and we don't have an unexpected decrease in coverage. And we can also see that in the according reports by CodeCuff. We could also see low level, which is provided by the Perl package that will cover, but this is a nicer visual representation of the same results. So we can see, for example, here in File Explorer that there are some sections which are 100% covered, like those two paths. In some files, like BMW QEMU, either the video and such, they are 100% covered, but there are spots which are not there yet. At least that was within this pull request, and since then we are improving and improving. So we can also see in the chart that there is a consistent coverage increase over time. Well, also only very subtle, already on a very high level, and we can see that now we are improving in the area of consoles, and then scripts, and then also all the individual files are planned, and we can already see that there are some more 100% matches here. Why do we do that? Well, after we did that, then we can have an easier time with reviewing, because we don't need to check, like, is this covered already in test? Is it not covered? But we have a simple automatic check to say by default everything is covered, and then we can rest assured that at least, let's say, the basic syntax errors are prevented. Of course, on the functional levels, one can still have bugs introduced which are unexpected. And that can then be the focus when doing code review, or like the cherry on top, some manual testing of the functionality. Let's see, there was a task which we labeled as beginner task. So sometimes there are some minor issues, and we are always looking for tasks which we can classify as beginner, because those can be very good points for entry for new contributors. And we also suggest those tickets to newcomers within our team to say, pick up one of those, and then you don't need to, you can get accustomed to the code, but you don't need to know all the details which cannot be seen from the codes, like, domain specific knowledge, or having access to something like an IBM mainframe for testing, or something like that, which might hinder the first steps in contribution. So in that case, the effect can be seen on OpenQA. So if you go to the test page, then you can see that right now 12 jobs are running, 8 scheduled jobs are running, and last 500 finished. And now if I just filter those, for example, to say, just show me OpenQA from Bootstrap, then we can filter here, but we can also filter by result, for example, failed. And if we, no, wait, I need to put this, that's what I wanted to show. Only match investigation jobs, like equivalent to only searching for those. And we see those in the finished job, and we can see that 2 jobs are running, which are investigation jobs, and 0 scheduled jobs are running. Because in before, that match was only applied to the last finished job. So much for this page. Let's go back to page number 1. Before we go into infrastructure, let's finish the OpenGate project. So we can see here there's more code coverage, as I already presented. Then, well, okay, a lot of errors that we fixed. We added one important section in the documentation, support for reversed worker connection, because sometimes there are environments where the web UI can reach the worker, but the worker cannot directly reach the web UI. And in that case, what we did is, well, we basically provided documentation how to do that. And so if we go here, and I guess if I look for tunnel, then, well, okay, this is 3 tunnels for multi-machine. Yes, we already used that. No, can I find? Yeah, special network connection. There might be certain situations where the OpenGate workers cannot reach the web UI directly. In that case, a reverse connection via SSH or WireGuard might be useful. And we have a full documentation here showing how WireGuard can be used to provide that connection. So we have tried it out. We considered to use that internally as an alternative to another approach, but in the end, we haven't followed up with this approach. It does work. We have tried it out. I think it can be helpful for some people. It's just that we didn't need it in the end for us right now. But let's see. We might come back to that again. There's also another feature which is about variable expansion incorporating worker settings. So what that one means is that, and let me reference the we show you on the according pull request just so that I can find the right documentation section. So here is resolved in the it's actually in the variable expansion section. Variable expansion. So here you might already know that one can specify variables like this, publish HTTP equals, and then with a percentage sign you can reference other variables. That was already possible for long. And we have also detailed the variable precedence. How does it go like that? And then there's an important note that you can also put variables in the worker settings. That's also something that's there for long. But what is possible now that those variables can also just be expanded just on the side of the worker. Let me give you one specific example relating to another ticket which I mentioned, which is we now have a local mirror per location and only the worker knows its mirror, right? So what we can do is something like a repo URL pointing to a local mirror, and then this is filled by the worker. And because the OpenGate job at the time of operation cannot know the setting and it will only be overridden by the worker, that's also why the settings tab on the web UI would just show the name of the variable, not expanded, but then in the vast JSON file, and when the actual job is using those settings, then of course it is seen there. So by that you can also fully trace that path of where a variable is defined, where it's passed on, and where it is evaluated and expanded accordingly when reviewing tests. Let's see what else is there. Right. We did upgrade to Leap 15 most of the infrastructure, not all of it yet, because there had been some problems regarding firewall D behavior in conjunction with the new kernel, as well as on some exotic machines. So that's why you see that the web UI of OSD and O3 is upgraded, as well as the O3 workers, but the OSD workers don't show up here because that ticket is currently being worked on and not all of them are yet covered. Then we finished a simple global limit of registered online workers. We already had a limit for longer for currently running jobs. And then there was another problem showing up. If just too many workers are registered, then the workers tell the web UI constantly that they are free and willing to take job, overwhelming the scheduler, actually the WebSockets team in conjunction with the scheduler, so that it never finds the time to actually assign jobs to the free workers, leading to a complete stalled system. So a simple remedy is to have that global limit so that not too many workers can register at a time. We found that on OpenQA SUSE QE, and there was no problem in reducing the number of registered workers because it actually, you don't need that many workers registered. It was kind of a side effect of migrating from old machines to new machines and keeping them both connected at the same time to do a simple switch over, but then this brought the system over the threshold and not being able to cope with the load anymore. More code coverage, and you can also see here there's another block of beginner tickets, unhandled output in tests, which you can see in the size, which we commonly estimate as size S tickets. So those are really good for beginners to look into. And beginner does not only mean a newbie in the team, it could also be somebody that is new to the code base, right? So we have members in the tools team who might have contributed a lot already to various projects, but not yet to OS audience. So that's why also some senior members of our team also picked up those tasks and quickly would contribute something helpful. Now, the last block would be infrastructure. And as always, or as usual, that's where the red stuff comes to surface. We had some urgent tickets also in that period. Obviously, it's like the partition usage exceeding a threshold, and always like specific solutions applied there, or maybe sometimes also generic improvements coming out of that. We had, let's see, schedule test run using IPMI workers cannot be assigned to idle workers. Yeah, so that's a support ticket. Sometimes it's not exactly clear why jobs are not picked up, even if it looks like there are enough free machines around. It's a lot about the network setup, which is also always constantly changing. There's a change in the TCP server and then the PXE server, and then how we provide assets to the PXE servers for HTTP based boot. And we configured WireGuard tunnels to provide a secure host by host connection for the Nuremberg 2 server room. And as a consequence of a change in the network due to compliancy reasons, also multiple problems regarding unable to control those machines from the central salt instance and all those kind of things. Let's see if there's anything like an interesting improvement still left to be presented. Nah, looks about fine. Cool. So that concludes my part about the resolve task. Are there any questions or notes about the resolved tickets that we did? If not, let's look into the roadmap. So again, starting with the top level view, those are the 3 sagas that we are working on. I think this is unchanged since the last time. We have the most recent and also highest priority saga about CC compliance of Prague 2. I hear some background noise here coming. So, hi Hannes, you joined. Why a bit of bad noise. If you don't mind, I will mute you for now. You can look into that. So we have the CC compliance of Prague 2 while ensuring business continuity. This one is also dictating the work that we will do in the upcoming months. As you can see, the saga states 2 goals which we need to ensure. We need to ensure full compliance, which basically we do, but we want to do that and improve the grounds on which we can provide the compliance while ensuring business continuity. That can include some tasks such as physically moving machines from one data center to another data center, which is more secure. So we are moving machines to a compliant data center, that we are needing to apply less workarounds and security measures about the individual machines, which involves it involves the physical moving. It involves ensuring that there is some backup of the configuration, which involves that we know exact details about the machine so that we can have it set up with the help of the SUSE IT team, but us handling the setup remotely and support the network changes, the incorporation into the OpenK configuration with a Pixie boot server, ensuring that there is not only the space in racks, but also the power and heat budget, as well as the personnel available to provide continuous maintenance of those machines. But there are also other tasks that we look into related to, for example, the deployment of tooling to ensure that we can update with let's say update to new versions of software of every component that's involved in CC compliant product development and testing, but update with as much automation as possible while still ensuring full compliance. Okay, so think of not pulling random changes from the internet versus not updating ever. Okay, so we need to find the middle grounds there. And that also means developing software solutions, which are then part of the deployment. What else for that? I think that's the good part of it. But that also means that we are busy with that good portion of the next year, and that involves a good portion of our team. For OpenK to the customers, that involves the improvement of the quality of the product and ensuring the good quality of the products that we deliver. And by products, I mean, in that case, OpenK itself or the OpenK ecosystem, not in any kind of setup. Means improving the coverage, as I showed in examples in before, but also means can we build OpenQA based on how we can provide OpenQA based on SUSE products like SLE. We have OpenQA on SLE, but the new products, SLE 16 or the former SUSE Linux Framework 1, and we want to provide a container-based solution based on that which we also have. But then the question is, how can we make sure that this container is included in aforementioned automatic pipelines to bring new updates and changes and bug fixes into that, which is a downstream product. So, think there's OpenGain OpenSUSE Factory, aka Tumbleweed, and the next step could be or should be how to bring those updates into the SUSE internal build service IBS and submit into the product in there, maybe with an automatic review, maybe semi-automatic or manual review of the changes again, and then have a fully vetted and properly supported SUSE product built on that base. And the third being the full version control awareness. I know it's getting old. It's only a 5-digit number in the ticket ID, right? So it's about time that we finish that. And I would like to do that, but no, it always falls a bit short, and that's a bit unfortunate because there are interesting and quite helpful features within there. We are taking it a bit slow because the general functionality of features like check out everything from Git are there and work, but with some kinds of, let's say, performance impact. So everything works fine for distributions like our OS Audience Distry example distribution, as well as OS Audience Distry OpenQA. But if we scale up, and that's why we carefully test on the instances that we maintain ourselves, then we already found some limitations. And that's why we are finding new tasks that we need to work on before we can enable all those features by default. So let me show you what that means. That right now we have 10 open tasks, only 10, but still 10, right? So for example, what we want to have is we want to enable automatic OpenGA Git clone by default, replacing also fetch needles, yeah, which is the script which we also supplied by OpenGA, but we want OpenGA built-in features like a minion job to ensure that there's an automatic update of your test distribution whenever you click on the restart button or whenever a new product is scheduled, or even from time to time to pull in new changes that had never happened in the repository. But those features, those tickets are blocked, for example, because we need to work on improving the non-transactional creation of minion jobs for Git updates when restarting jobs. When jobs are restarted, then OpenGA needs to reevaluate the dependencies of the jobs and what other jobs in a cluster need to be started. It also needs to schedule then according minion jobs that needs to be executed to do the Git updates, and both of these needs to be aligned so that we are making sure that jobs are running in a proper cluster with all the needed dependencies, as well as that they also trigger a Git update, but not overdo it, as in when we schedule 1,000 jobs all running from the same Git repository, we don't need to and shouldn't try to update the Git repository 1,000 times. I mean, good, it just works, but it's an unnecessary delay and overhead. And then there's also an error about a dirty Git checkout, like if the Git repository is there, but for whatever reason, maybe because you manually develop on it, the Git repository is considered not clean, i.e. dirty, then the very least that we can do is improve the error reporting about that. So those are just 2 examples. Yeah, there are some more, so let's see how that goes. Are there any questions about our backlog on the level of sagas for the roadmap here. They are not. So let me show you the current status. Thank you. So of the backlog, and I'm always able to join is already in another browser window. So I closed it. Let's take a look. So that's how our backlog status looks like. It is all green, but let me tell you, I have a very hard job the past weeks to keep it all green. And the most important reason is because of the support CC compliance saga, which has still a lot of moving parts and new requests coming in and changes coming in, or problems that people have with the approach, that there are new tickets created as well as necessary tasks to be planned. And that means that we are always struggling to keep our backlog limited on a reasonable number, because if it would grow too big, then you're just giving out false promises, right? As in, people expect that we would be able to work on some tasks within the next months, when effectively it's very unlikely that this would happen. Okay? So that's why we need to keep it limited, but you can see that it's only just below the threshold with just a room of 2 tickets by now, and the past days it was like always exceeding the limit, and I needed to shift around plans and reconsider where our priority is and can be. If you take a look into the backlog, you can see that there is, for example, a new urgent ticket which just popped up today in the morning. Let's just take a look from the back. So what's currently being in the process of being concluded is the auditing and the reviewing of the information that we have in our Redmine project. So that's what we are working on, and let's say about to conclude. In progress is that we have a problem that looks like it might affect production jobs, but maybe effectively it's not really the case, because so far we could reproduce it seemingly only with very short jobs. So that one shows up in OpenGain test. That's what we work on. And then there's also another problem in OpenGain test in the ping test training. So Yannis is looking into that. That's one of the urgent tickets. I mentioned the ongoing Leaf 15.6 upgrade, as well as some code coverage improvements. What's coming next as workables ticket is that we can again use the direct access, which is by now allowed to the Nuremberg 2 data center. We have a new Power 10 machine that wants to be set up, but has some problems were encountered regarding the setup, which might be new for Power 10, but also might just be generic issues, and we don't know yet how to handle that. And then in new, as I said, there is one, yeah, we can see here, those are all reactive work tickets, so like alert handling, things that's happening in the past days about depleting space, one here, warning there, unable to access a repository, machine reachable and such. So we'll take a look into those. So with that, any last comments or questions regarding the backlog? Do you have anything that you wish for Christmas and want to know if we can deliver those presents to you? No Christmas wishes. Seem to be a very content group of people. Fine, you're lost. And the only thing that I can do is tell you that again, this is the last session for this calendar year. Let me quickly check the next date. What's coming 2 weeks after the 27th? Would be the 10th. Yep. So 10th of January 2025. That's when we will do a new workshop. SUSE QE Tools. That's well to do. Then say thank you for your attendance and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Goodbye.